Welcome to Study Session 6, Feasibility Studies, Part 1. Introduction. Feasibility studies are preliminary investigations into the potential benefits associated with undertaking a specific activity or project. The main purpose of the feasibility study is to consider all factors associated with a project and determine if the investment of time and other resources will yield a desirable result. While considered a preliminary study, it is not unusual for a feasibility study to be highly detailed. When a business is considering a new operation or the launch of a new product, the feasibility study is a logical tool to employ before any resources are invested in the new project. One of the most important aspects of the study is to make sure that the total investment needed to successfully bring the project to completion is considered. Often, this will include addressing components such as cash reserves, labor, construction, production facilities, outsourcing, and the cost of raw materials. Only when the feasibility study has addressed the total cost of completing the project can the study progress to the next level. Feasibility studies. Proposed industrial projects should be developed in an orderly way with thorough investigation and analysis. This is quite necessary in order to prevent business failure or the undertaking of unsound and white elephant projects. It is usually said that if the systematic and sequential procedure is not properly undertaken, it is easy to invest a large sum of money on a project which has to be abandoned later. However, the method and procedure of analysis must be sound and the approach of analysis suitable. A project can be analyzed poorly due to an unsuitable approach, as well as general inadequacies of the theoretical basis. It could be due to peculiarities of a particular project, which make the general procedure not totally applicable. As a result of these shortcomings, it will be instructive to examine how projects should be analyzed in real-life situations. The method and procedure of project analysis can be summarized into the following points. 1. The nature and historical background of the project. Preliminary and general survey of the market for the project's output. 3. Preliminary survey of the availability and sources of raw materials. 4. Technical feasibility studies. 5. Size and location of the project. 6. Analysis of project costs. 7. Market study and demand analysis. 8. Analysis of financial structures and loan terms. 9. The management and organization studies. 10. Financial projection. 11. Financial analysis. 12. Sensitivity analysis. 13. The economic analysis and viability report. A detailed explanation of each of the above procedure is necessary for better understanding in this unit and the next 3 units. The nature and historical backgrounds of projects. The first step in the preparation of feasibility report is to trace the nature and the historical background of the project. The nature of the project must be vividly stated, whether new or existing. The reason for selecting the project and its economic and social justification must equally be explained. If the project is new, then we must justify the need for an additional project. Sometimes the market for a particular project might have been saturated. If so, there will be no need for additional project. Furthermore, information about the name of company must be provided and the type of ownership specified. In choosing the name, we must be sure that no existing company bears that name. By registering through the Corporate Affairs Office, which will search the names and ensure there is no duplication. Moreover, the name of the sponsors and financial promoters must be stated. If it is a public limited liability company, the name of the board of directors and management team, as well as the name of the shareholders and their profile, must be stated. The names of the members of the board of trustees will be required in case the project is promoted as an incorporated trustee. The summary project background will include all relevant information about the idea, scope, and location, past history of the industry to which the project falls, the current conditions within the industry, anticipated future trends in the industry and the economy, government controls or regulation affecting the operation of the industry, and effects on proposed project. All relevant information about the nature of the project, either old or new. If new, the reasons for proposing the project, major constraints or incentives to enter the industry, major procedure for entry and exit, environmental requirements, requirements of the Nigeria Investment Promotion Commission and Corporate Affairs Commission, and so on. If the project is an expansion, did the initial study recommend the expansion? What justifies the expansion? Is there any relationship between the first phase and proposed expansion? Evidence of past performance must also be provided. All relevant information about the company, including its name, the types of ownership, the share capital, the board and proposed management team, and the major shareholders. All relevant information about financial arrangements. Will the promoters increase their shareholding? Will new shares be issued, or will new loans be sought, and so on. After selecting a possible project to be studied, it is important, before proceeding to intensive investigation, to undertake preliminary studies to establish whether a market for the proposed project really does exist and the resources available. If the market envisaged is local, it can be easily determined within a shorter period of time and at a relatively lower expense. But if the market is foreign, a thorough analysis of domestic production and export of the project has to be carried out. This may take a longer time. If, for instance, the market survey turns out to be favorable, then the comprehensive study is encouraged to proceed. If unfavorable, however, it is often advisable to terminate the proposal or postpone it to a favorable future time. This also means the postponement of the comprehensive study. Market survey should identify 1. Number and size of competitors in the market. 2. Geographical spread of competitors. 3. Market share of competitors. 4. Product brands. And 5. Uniqueness of products or services rendered by competing firms. 6. Degree of responsiveness of the customer in terms of A. Price changes, B. Religious beliefs, C. Income level and changes, D. Tastes, and so on. 7. Size of market demand, projected market share of product or service, future demand taking into account future growth rates and macro and exogenous factors, current and fair market price, structure and level of the supply side of the industry closely linked in analysis with the demand projections. Proper identification of leading firms in the industry and their marketing capabilities and strategies should also be part of the preliminary market survey. Preliminary survey of the availability and sources of raw materials. Preparation of feasibility report requires an investigation on whether or not the required raw material resources are available and can be sourced domestically. If the resources are available locally, this analysis can be determined so easily. Otherwise, longer period will be spent to investigate the resources which are to be imported from the neighboring countries. Unless it seems quite clear that relevant raw materials resources are available, there is no justification for wasting effort to undertake even preliminary technical feasibility. Laws in Nigeria requiring local sourcing of raw materials make this aspect very critical in a feasibility report. Since the survival of any production process depends on regular and adequate supply of raw material, the following factors should be given serious attention when planning for raw material input. 1. Terms of purchase or supply. 2. Sources of supply. 3. Anticipated fluctuations in prices for a reasonable period of time. 4. Methods of delivery and storage. 5. Cost of transportation and storage. And 6. Proximity of the raw materials to the envisaged location of project. The end of study session 6. Thank you.